The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched as far as the eye could see. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy filled the floating platforms that hung in perfect circles around the central speaking area.
Perimeter colonies.
The air hummed with translation.
It is a
Devices
necessary
working in real
strategic
time,
retreat. The fleet cannot
turning
hold them.
alien words into sounds each species could understand. Sarah Chen stood alone at the center of it all. She was the only human in a room full of creatures that had just voted to kick her entire species out of galactic society. Her hands were steady at her sides. Her face showed no fear, no anger, no sadness.
It is unacceptable.
This surprised many of the watching aliens who had seen
The
other
fleet
banished
cannot hold them.
species break down in tears or rage. The vote is final, announced Chancellor Morden from her crystal throne high above. Her voice rang like breaking glass through the chamber. 847 votes in favor of banishment, 23 against, 12 abstentions.
Sacrifice the
The human
colonies.
species is
It
hereby expelled
unacceptable.
from the Galactic
It is
Federation.
a necessary strategic
A wave
retreat.
of
The fleet
satisfied
cannot
murmurs
hold them.
rippled through the assembled delegates. The Vorthon Empire representatives clicked their claws together in approval. The hegemony senators flashed their bioluminescent patches in patterns that meant victory. Even the usually neutral crystalline collective seemed pleased with the outcome.
We
Ambassador
cannot sacrifice the
Seth Carr
perimeter
of the
colonies.
Vorthons
It is
leaned back in his
unacceptable.
seat with obvious
It is
satisfaction.
a necessary strategic
He had
retreat.
pushed for
The
this
fleet
vote for
cannot
3
hold them.
years, ever since humans had started expanding too fast for his comfort. Finally, he muttered to his aide, "We can return to proper order." Sarah Chen waited for the noise to die down before she spoke. "May I address the council one final time?" Chancellor
We
Morden
cannot
waved a
sacrifice the
dismissive
perimeter
hand.
colonies. It is
"You have
unacceptable.
5 minutes, human.
It is a
Use them
necessary
wisely."
strategic retreat. The fleet
Chen stepped
cannot hold
forward,
them.
her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's advanced acoustics. "Honored delegates, you have made your decision. Humanity accepts the verdict of this council. We will remove all human personnel from Federation space within 1 standard galactic year, as required by law."
We cannot sacrifice the perimeter
More pleased
colonies.
murmurs
It is
from the crowd.
unacceptable.
This was
It is a
going
necessary
exactly as they had
strategic
hoped.
retreat. The fleet
The
cannot hold them.
dangerous humans would be contained to their little corner of space, far from civilized society. However, Chen continued, and something in her tone made the murmurs stop. "Before we depart, humanity wishes to invoke Article 847 of the
We
Galactic
cannot
Compact."
sacrifice
A
the perimeter
confused
colonies.
silence
It
fell
is
over the chamber.
unacceptable.
Even
It is a
Chancellor
necessary
Morden
strategic
frowned,
retreat. The
her
fleet
crystal
cannot hold them.
features shifting colors as she accessed her memory banks. Article 847 was old law, written in the early days of the Federation when territorial disputes were common. Most beings had forgotten it existed. Article 847, Chen explained
We
helpfully,
cannot sacrifice the
grants
perimeter
any
colonies.
species
It is
expelled from the
unacceptable.
Federation the right to claim
It is a
sovereign
necessary
territory from
strategic
any
retreat. The
unclaimed
fleet cannot
space
hold
within
them.
the galaxy. This territory becomes independent, with all the rights and protections that status provides under galactic law. Trade Minister Velnox of the Commercial Alliance spoke up from his platform. "What unclaimed space could you possibly want? Every
We cannot
valuable system
sacrifice
has been
the perimeter
settled for
colonies.
thousands of
It is
years."
unacceptable.
Sarah Chen smiled for
It
the
is a
first time
necessary
since entering
strategic
the
retreat.
chamber.
The fleet cannot
It
hold
was
them.
not a pleasant smile. "Minister Velnox, humanity has had 3 years to prepare for this possibility. We have surveyed the galaxy extensively. We know exactly what we want to claim." She activated a small device and a holographic map of the galaxy appeared above the central area.
We cannot sacrifice the perimeter colonies. It is
Thousands of red
unacceptable.
dots scattered across
It
the
is a
display,
necessary
connected by
strategic
flowing
retreat. The
lines
fleet
that mapped
cannot
the
hold
major
them.
trade routes and hyperspace corridors. "We claim sovereign authority over these systems," Chen announced. At first, the delegates were confused. The red dots seemed random, scattered through empty space between the major civilizations. Dead systems with nothing but asteroids and
We
cosmic
cannot
dust.
sacrifice the perimeter
Why
colonies.
would
It
anyone
is
want such
unacceptable.
worthless territory?
It is a
Then
necessary
Trade
strategic
Minister
retreat. The
Velnox
fleet
began to
cannot hold
understand,
them.
and his green face turned a sickly yellow. Those are the navigation waypoints." "Correct," Chen confirmed. "Every hyperspace beacon, every gravitational anchor point, every relay station that makes faster than light travel
We cannot
possible between
sacrifice
your
the
worlds.
perimeter colonies.
For
It is
thousands of years,
unacceptable.
these systems have been
It is a
maintained by
necessary
ancient
strategic
progenitor
retreat. The fleet
technology
cannot hold them.
that no one bothered to claim ownership of. Under galactic law, they qualify as unclaimed territory. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted across the platforms in dozens of languages. The translation system struggled to keep up with the overlapping voices of panic and rage.
It is unacceptable.
Chancellor Morden stood,
It is a necessary
her crystal
strategic
form
retreat. The
blazing
fleet
with
cannot
angry
hold
light.
them.
This is absurd. Those systems are critical infrastructure. They belong to galactic civilization as a whole. According to the legal survey we conducted, Chen replied, consulting a data pad, no species has ever filed territorial claims on these systems.
We cannot
the
sacrifice
progenitor
the
beacons
perimeter
operate
colonies.
automatically,
It is unacceptable.
but the space around them
It is
has
a
remained
necessary
legally
strategic
neutral.
retreat. The fleet
Under
cannot
Article
hold them.
847, unclaimed territory may be claimed by any banished species for sovereign use. You cannot be serious about this. Emperor Zarnthal of the Core Worlds had risen from his golden platform, his massive form trembling with fury.
Scott, we
You
cannot
would hold the
sacrifice
entire
the perimeter
galaxy
colonies.
hostage
It
over
is
a legal
unacceptable.
technicality?
It is a
Sarah Chen
necessary
looked up at him with
strategic
calm
retreat. The
eyes.
fleet cannot hold them.
Your Majesty, with respect, you just voted to banish humanity from galactic civilization. We are simply ensuring we have somewhere to go. These systems will provide us with the territory we need to build our own society, separate from yours.
Scott, we
But ships
cannot
need to pass
sacrifice
through
the
those
perimeter
systems to travel
colonies. It is
anywhere,
unacceptable.
protested Senator
It is a
Kilmoth of the
necessary
Outer Rim
strategic
Coalition.
retreat. The fleet
Yes,
cannot hold them.
Chen agreed. They do. The implications hit the chamber like a physical blow. Without access to the hyperspace junction points, interstellar travel would become impossible. The great civilizations would be trapped in their own systems, cut off from trade,
We cannot
communication,
sacrifice the
and
perimeter
contact with the
colonies.
rest
It
of
is
the galaxy.
unacceptable.
Admiral
It is a
Kessethu was
necessary
the first to
strategic
voice
retreat.
what
The
everyone
fleet
was
cannot
thinking.
hold them.
This is an act of war. No, Chen corrected firmly. This is an act of law. Everything we have done follows galactic legal code to the letter. We have filed our territorial claims through proper channels. We have provided appropriate documentation.
We cannot
We have
sacrifice the
followed
perimeter
every required
colonies.
procedure.
It is unacceptable.
She paused, letting that
It is a
sink
necessary
in. If
strategic
you believe our
retreat. The
claims
fleet
are
cannot
invalid,
hold them.
you are welcome to challenge them in the Galactic Court of Justice. That process typically takes 15 to 20 years to resolve. Chancellor Morden's crystal form dimmed as she realized the trap they had walked into. What do you want?
Scott,
For now?
we cannot sacrifice the
Nothing.
perimeter colonies. It is
Chen replied.
unacceptable.
We
It is a
simply want to be
necessary
left
strategic
alone in our new
retreat. The fleet
territory,
cannot
as
hold
you
them.
requested. We will begin implementing standard territorial sovereignty measures immediately. Navigation assistance, security patrols, maintenance services, customs enforcement, all the things that responsible territorial owners do. She gathered her materials and turned to
We
leave.
cannot sacrifice the
And
perimeter
Chancellor,
colonies. It is
since
unacceptable.
humanity is no longer part of
It
the
is a
Federation,
necessary strategic
we will need to
retreat. The fleet
renegotiate
cannot
our
hold them.
technology sharing agreements. Our contributions to galactic medical research, quantum computing, and artificial intelligence development were, of course, part of our membership benefits. Those agreements expire with our banishment. As Sarah Chen walked toward the chamber exit,
We
her
cannot
footsteps
sacrifice
echoing
the
in the
perimeter
stunned
colonies.
silence,
It is
she
unacceptable.
reflected on the irony
It is
of
a
the
necessary
situation.
strategic retreat.
The
The fleet
galaxy had
cannot hold
voted to
them.
banish humanity because they were afraid of human ambition and unpredictability. They had been right to be afraid. They had just been afraid of the wrong things. The vote to banish Earth had passed overwhelmingly, but now the galaxy was about to learn that humanity had been writing their own rules all
the perimeter
along.
colonies. It is
They had just been
unacceptable.
polite enough to follow
It is a
someone
necessary
else's
strategic
rules
retreat.
until
The
now.
fleet cannot hold them.
That politeness had officially ended. Behind her, the chamber remained frozen in shocked silence. Delegates stared at the holographic map still floating above them, its red dots suddenly looking less like scattered points and more like a vast web that connected everything they held dear.
Scott,
The humans
we
had
cannot
just turned their
sacrifice the
exile
perimeter
into the
colonies.
galaxy's
It is
biggest strategic
unacceptable.
mistake,
It is a necessary
and they had
strategic
done it all
retreat. The fleet
completely
cannot
legally.
hold them.
Emperor Zarnthal finally found his voice again. How long do we have? Chen paused at the exit and looked back over her shoulder. Our territorial sovereignty takes effect in 72 hours, Your Majesty. I suggest you begin making arrangements
We
for
cannot
alternative
sacrifice the perimeter
transportation
colonies.
methods.
It is unacceptable.
And if we refuse
It
to
is a
recognize
necessary
your
strategic
territorial
retreat. The
claims,
fleet cannot hold them.
Sarah Chen's smile was polite, professional, and absolutely terrifying. Then you can explain to your citizens why their grocery stores are empty and their communication networks have gone dark. The door closed behind her with a soft hiss, leaving the most powerful
cannot
beings in the
sacrifice the
galaxy
perimeter
to
colonies.
contemplate
It is
what they had just
unacceptable.
done to themselves.
It is a necessary strategic
Admiral
retreat. The
Kestu
fleet
had seen
cannot
many
hold them.
things in his 40 years of military service, but he had never seen panic like this. The emergency meeting room of the Hegemony Defense Fleet buzzed with nervous energy as officers rushed back and forth with data tablets and status reports. "Sir, we have confirmation from Scout
We
Group
cannot
7,
sacrifice the
reported
perimeter
Lieutenant
colonies. It is
Yartok,
unacceptable.
her voice tight with
It
disbelief.
is a necessary
The
strategic
humans
retreat.
have
The
established
fleet cannot hold
installations
them.
at every single navigation point they claimed. Every single one. Kestu studied the tactical display floating above the conference table. Each red dot that had seemed so harmless 3 months ago now pulsed with active human presence. How many installations total?
We cannot sacrifice the perimeter colonies. It is
14,632
unacceptable.
confirmed positions,
It is a
answered
necessary
intelligence
strategic
officer
retreat. The fleet
Zixmal.
cannot hold them.
Each, one protected by orbital defense platforms, armed patrol craft, and automated weapon systems. Sir, they've built a fortress network that spans half the galaxy. In 3 months? Kestu's 4 eyes narrowed. That's impossible.
We
No
cannot
species has
sacrifice
that
the
kind of
perimeter
construction
colonies. It is
capability.
unacceptable.
Trade Minister
It is a
Velnox had
necessary
arrived that
strategic
morning
retreat.
looking
The fleet
like he
cannot
hadn't
hold
slept
them.
in weeks. His normally immaculate green robes were wrinkled and his face showed the strain of watching his entire economic portfolio collapse. "I can explain that," he said grimly. "They didn't build everything from scratch. They've been preparing for this." He activated his own
cannot
holographic
sacrifice the
display,
perimeter colonies.
showing
It
shipping
is
records from the
unacceptable.
past 5 years.
It is a necessary strategic
this
retreat.
data.
The fleet cannot hold
Human
them.
cargo ships have been making regular runs to these exact systems for years. We thought they were conducting scientific surveys or asteroid mining operations. Instead, they were pre-positioning materials and equipment. While still members of the Federation, added
We
intelligence
cannot
officer
sacrifice the
Zixmal,
perimeter colonies.
they used
It
their
is
legal
unacceptable.
access to Federation
It is
space
a
to
necessary
scout and
strategic
prepare their
retreat. The
takeover
fleet
positions.
cannot hold them.
Admiral Kestu felt a cold realization creeping over him. They planned this. The humans wanted to be banished. The evidence was all there once they looked for it. Human expansion had been aggressive, yes, but it had also been calculated to provoke exactly
We
the
cannot
response it
sacrifice the
received.
perimeter colonies. It is
Their
unacceptable.
military buildup
It is
had
a
been visible
necessary
enough to
strategic
cause
retreat.
concern,
The fleet cannot
but
hold
not
them.
threatening enough to justify immediate action. They had asked uncomfortable questions about Federation policies while technically remaining within diplomatic protocols. They manipulated us into banishing them, breathed Minister Velnox. But why would they want that? The answer came
We
from an
cannot
unexpected
sacrifice the
source.
perimeter colonies.
The Chamber's
It is
communication
unacceptable.
system activated,
It is a
and
necessary
Ambassador
strategic
Sarah
retreat.
Chen's
The
image
fleet
appeared
cannot
in the
hold them.
center of the room. She was broadcasting from the newly constructed Kepler station, a massive orbital facility that now controlled the most important hyperspace junction in the galaxy. "Good morning, honored delegates," Chen said with professional courtesy. "I wanted to personally inform you
cannot
that the Human
sacrifice the
Territorial
perimeter
Authority has
colonies. It is
completed the
unacceptable.
installation of our
It
navigation
is a
management
necessary
systems.
strategic retreat.
Effective
The fleet
immediately,
cannot hold them.
all traffic through human space will be subject to our standard operational procedures." Behind her, through the station's viewing ports, they could see the constant stream of ships passing through the junction. But now each ship had to stop, submit to inspection, and receive clearance before continuing.
We cannot
"What are your
sacrifice
demands?"
the perimeter colonies.
Admiral
It is
Kestu asked
unacceptable.
directly.
It is a necessary
Demands?
strategic retreat. The fleet
Chen
cannot
looked
hold them.
genuinely surprised. "Admiral, we're not making demands. We're simply operating our territory according to standard practices. All ships are welcome to transit our space, provided they follow proper procedures and pay appropriate fees." Minister Velnox leaned forward.
We cannot sacrifice the
fees?
perimeter colonies. It is
Chen
unacceptable.
consulted a data pad.
It is a necessary
Standard
strategic
navigation
retreat. The fleet
assistance
cannot
fees
hold
are
them.
calculated based on ship tonnage and cargo value. Current rates are quite reasonable. 2% of cargo value for commercial vessels, flat rates for passenger ships, and modest fees for private craft. We also offer premium services for expedited processing. 2% of cargo value.
The perimeter colonies.
Minister
It is
Velnox's
unacceptable.
green face flushed
It is
darker.
a necessary strategic
That
retreat.
will double
The fleet
shipping
cannot
costs
hold them.
across the galaxy. Only if captains choose not to use our preferred partner program, Chen explained helpfully. Ships that register with human-approved carriers receive significant discounts. We also offer excellent rates for bulk contracts and long-term agreements.
We cannot
Admiral
sacrifice the
Kestu
perimeter
studied the
colonies.
human
It is
ambassador carefully.
unacceptable. It is a
And if we
necessary
refuse to pay
strategic
your
retreat. The fleet cannot
fees?
hold them.
Then you're welcome to find alternative routes through unclaimed space, Chen replied with a polite smile. Though I should mention that our survey teams have been unable to locate any viable hyperspace corridors that don't pass through at least one human territorial zone. The Admiral pulled up galactic navigation charts and began tracing possible routes between major systems.
It is a necessary
His heart
strategic
sank as he
retreat.
realized
The fleet
the truth.
cannot hold them.
The humans hadn't just claimed random empty systems. They had claimed every critical juncture that made interstellar civilization possible. You've cut us off completely, he said. Not at all, Chen corrected. We've simply established proper management of previously neglected
We cannot
infrastructure.
sacrifice the perimeter
For
colonies.
3,000
It is
years, these
unacceptable.
navigation points
It is a
operated without
necessary
oversight,
strategic retreat. The
maintenance,
fleet
or
cannot hold them.
security. Ships were lost to equipment failures, pirate attacks, and navigation errors. We're providing professional management services. Minister Velnox was frantically calculating numbers on his tablet. The economic impact of this will be catastrophic. Shipping
We cannot
delays,
sacrifice
increased
the perimeter
costs,
colonies.
supply
It is
chain
unacceptable.
disruptions.
It is a
Which is
necessary
why we're
strategic
offering
retreat.
very
The fleet
reasonable
cannot
terms,
hold them.
Chen interrupted. Our fees are actually lower than what the Federation was charging in administrative costs and regulatory compliance. The difference is that we're providing actual value for those fees. Faster processing, better security, improved navigation accuracy. This is
We cannot
extortion,
sacrifice the
accused
perimeter
intelligence
colonies.
officer
It is
Zix Small.
unacceptable.
This
It
is
is a
business,
necessary strategic
Chen
retreat.
replied
The
calmly.
fleet cannot hold them.
Earth is simply monetizing infrastructure that was previously undervalued. We're following the same economic principles that the galaxy has used for millennia. Admiral Kesthu found himself grudgingly impressed despite his anger. The humans had outmaneuvered the entire galaxy using nothing
We
but careful
cannot
planning
sacrifice
and
the
legal
perimeter
maneuvering.
colonies. It is
How
unacceptable.
long have you been planning
It is
this?
a necessary strategic retreat.
Ever since
the
we
fleet
joined the
cannot hold them.
Federation, Chen admitted freely. Human economists quickly realized that galactic civilization depended on infrastructure that no one actually owned or maintained properly. We saw an opportunity to provide better services while establishing our own economic independence. So,
We cannot
you deliberately
sacrifice the
provoked
perimeter
your own
colonies.
banishment.
It is
Chen's
unacceptable.
expression became thoughtful.
It is a necessary
Admiral,
strategic retreat.
humanity
The fleet
never
cannot
wanted to be
hold them.
banished. We hoped the galaxy would accept our contributions and allow us to participate as equals. But when it became clear that established powers preferred to maintain the status quo rather than adapt to change, we prepared for this outcome. She gestured toward the busy
We
traffic
cannot
control center
sacrifice
visible
the
behind
perimeter
her.
colonies. It is
We've
unacceptable.
spent 5 years training personnel,
necessary
developing
strategic
technology,
retreat. The fleet
and
cannot
positioning
hold them.
resources. When the banishment vote passed, we were ready to implement our contingency plan immediately. Minister Velnox looked up from his calculations with horror. You're going to destroy the galactic economy. We're going to restructure it, Chen corrected.
We cannot
The
sacrifice
old system was
perimeter
inefficient,
colonies. It is
unfair,
unacceptable.
and vulnerable.
It is a necessary
Major
strategic
civilizations
retreat. The fleet
controlled
cannot hold them.
territory based on historical claims rather than contribution. Trade flowed along routes that were poorly maintained and inadequately protected. The Federation charged fees for services it didn't actually provide. And you think you can do better? We know we can, Chen said with quiet
sacrifice the
confidence.
perimeter colonies. It is
Our
unacceptable.
preliminary efficiency
necessary
studies show
strategic
30%
retreat. The
improvement
fleet
in
cannot
shipping
hold them.
times, 50% reduction in cargo losses, and 70% improvement in navigation accuracy. We're not just taking over existing systems, we're upgrading them. Admiral Kesathu had to admit the logic was sound, even if he hated the situation. What about military
cannot
vessels?
sacrifice the
Surely
perimeter
you're not going
colonies.
to
It is
charge warships for
unacceptable.
passage?
It is a necessary
Military
strategic retreat. The
vessels
fleet
receive
cannot
the
hold
same
them.
treatment as any other traffic, Chen replied, though we do offer special diplomatic rates for official government business. We're also happy to provide escort services and security assistance for ships traveling through potentially dangerous regions. This is blackmail, Intelligence
We cannot
Officer Zix
sacrifice
Small
the
said
perimeter
flatly.
colonies. It is unacceptable.
This is capitalism,
It is a
Chen
necessary
corrected.
strategic retreat.
Earth
the
is
fleet
providing
cannot hold
valuable
them.
services in exchange for fair compensation. If galactic civilization doesn't wish to pay for professional navigation services, they're welcome to develop their own alternatives. The cold truth of that statement settled over the room. Developing alternative hyperspace routes would take centuries of
cannot
exploration
sacrifice the perimeter
and
colonies.
decades of
It is
infrastructure
unacceptable.
construction.
It is
The
a
galaxy's
necessary
economy would
strategic retreat.
collapse
The
long
fleet
before
cannot
any
hold them.
alternatives came online. You have us trapped, Admiral Kesathu said. You have yourselves trapped, Chen replied without sympathy. You voted to banish the species that was providing innovation, efficiency, and economic growth to your civilization.
Scott,
You chose to prioritize political comfort over practical benefits. These are simply the consequences of that choice.
The fleet cannot hold them.
Minister Velnox looked desperate. What if we reverse the banishment vote? What if we invite humanity back into the Federation? Chen was quiet for a long moment, and when she spoke, her voice was colder than space itself. Minister, 3 hours ago, this council declared that humanity was too dangerous, too aggressive, and too disruptive to...
strategic retreat. The fleet
Captain
cannot
Vorkes
hold
had
them.
been making cargo runs between the core worlds and the Outer Rim for 15 years. He knew every hyperspace route, every shortcut, every way to shave time off a delivery schedule. But as his ship approached the Kepler Junction, he was entering completely unknown territory.
Sacrifice the
The massive human station dominated the system's primary hyperspace beacon. It was bigger than anything Vorkes had seen before. A sprawling complex of docking bays, defensive platforms, and processing centers. Ships lined up in orderly queues, waiting their turn for inspection and clearance. Cargo vessel Star Trader, this is Kepler Control.
We cannot
Came a crisp
sacrifice
human
the
voice
perimeter
over the
colonies.
communication
It is
system.
unacceptable.
Please reduce speed to
necessary
sublight and
strategic
proceed to
retreat. The
inspection
fleet cannot hold them.
Q7. Estimated processing time is 4 hours and 20 minutes. 4 hours. Vorkes usually passed through this junction in less than 10 minutes. His cargo of medical supplies was urgently needed on Proxima Station, where a plague outbreak was spreading. Every hour of delay meant more deaths.
We cannot sacrifice the perimeter colonies.
Kepler
It is
Control.
unacceptable.
This is an
It
emergency
is a
medical
necessary
shipment.
strategic
He
retreat. The
transmitted.
fleet cannot hold them.
I'm carrying critical supplies for the Proxima plague response. Understood, Star Trader. Medical emergency shipments qualify for priority processing. Please proceed to Q1. Estimated processing time is 40 minutes. Additional priority fees will apply.
Scott, we
Vorkes
cannot
gritted his
sacrifice
teeth
the
and
perimeter
adjusted
colonies.
course.
It is unacceptable.
40 minutes was better than 4
It is a
hours,
necessary
but
strategic
it was still
retreat.
a
The
massive
fleet
delay
cannot hold
compared
them.
to the old system. As he waited in the priority queue, he watched the efficient operation of the human facility. Human officers in pristine uniforms guided ships through the inspection process. Automated scanners examined cargo holds with precision.
Scott,
That
we
far
cannot
exceeded
sacrifice
anything the
perimeter
Federation had ever
colonies.
used.
It is unacceptable.
Security patrols
It is
moved
a
in
necessary
perfect formation.
strategic retreat. The
Their
fleet
ships
cannot
clearly
hold them.
more advanced than standard galactic military vessels. When Vorkes's turn came, the inspection was thorough but professional. Human technicians verified his medical cargo, confirmed his destination, and processed his payments with mechanical efficiency.
We cannot
They even
sacrifice the
provided
perimeter
updated
colonies.
navigation
It is
data
unacceptable.
that would help him avoid
It
a
is a
solar
necessary
storm near
strategic
Proxima.
retreat. The fleet cannot
Thank you
hold
for
them.
choosing human navigation services, said the customs officer as she handed back his clearance documents. Your priority processing fee has been discounted 50% due to the humanitarian nature of your cargo. Safe travels, Captain. Despite his frustration with the delays,
sacrifice the perimeter
Vorkes had to
colonies.
admit
It
the
is
humans ran a
unacceptable.
professional operation.
It is a necessary
Their fees were
strategic
high,
retreat. The fleet
but their
cannot
service
hold them.
quality was better than anything he had experienced under Federation management. 3 systems away, Trade Minister Velnox was discovering the full scope of the economic disaster facing galactic civilization. His office was buried under reports from shipping companies,
Scott,
manufacturing
we cannot sacrifice
consortiums,
the
and
perimeter
trade guilds,
colonies. It is
all describing the
unacceptable.
same problems.
It is a necessary strategic retreat.
Shipping
The fleet
costs have
cannot
increased
hold
by
them.
an average of 40%, reported his chief economic analyst, data keeper, Morvash. Delivery times are up 60% due to inspection delays. Several major trade routes have become economically unviable. What about the alternative routes?
Scott, we cannot
Velnox
sacrifice
asked
the perimeter
desperately.
colonies. It is
There are none.
unacceptable.
Morvash
It is a
replied
necessary
bluntly.
strategic retreat.
Our
The fleet
navigation
cannot
experts
hold
have
them.
spent 2 months mapping possible alternatives. Every viable hyperspace corridor passes through at least one human-controlled system. The few routes that avoid human space entirely add weeks to journey times and pass through regions with no emergency services or
We
navigation
cannot
support.
sacrifice the perimeter colonies.
Velnox
It
pulled
is
up shipping
unacceptable.
manifests from the past
It
month.
is a necessary strategic
patterns
retreat.
were
The
alarming.
fleet cannot hold them.
Luxury goods were still moving since wealthy buyers could absorb the increased costs. But basic necessities, food, medicine, raw materials, were experiencing supply shortages as profit margins disappeared. The humans are strangling our economy, he muttered.
We cannot
Actually,
sacrifice the perimeter
Morvash said
colonies. It is
carefully,
unacceptable.
they're restructuring
It is a necessary
Look,
strategic
at these
retreat.
reports
The
from
fleet cannot
companies
hold
that
them.
have signed preferred partner agreements with human navigation services. The data told a different story. Companies that paid premium rates received faster service than they had ever experienced under Federation management. Ships that joined human-approved trade consortiums got discounted rates and access to improved navigation routes.
Colonies. It is unacceptable.
Businesses
It is a
that agreed to
necessary
exclusive
strategic
contracts
retreat. The
with
fleet
human
cannot
logistics
hold them.
companies found their shipping costs actually decreasing. They're not trying to destroy trade, Morvash explained. They're trying to control it, and they're rewarding cooperation while punishing resistance. Minister Velnox was beginning to understand the true scope of human planning. This wasn't
we cannot sacrifice
random
the perimeter
extortion.
Colonies. It is unacceptable.
It was a carefully designed system to
necessary
reshape galactic
strategic
commerce
retreat. The fleet
according to
cannot
human
hold them.
preferences. Meanwhile, on the industrial world of Kethmore, factory manager Zulthak was facing his own crisis. His manufacturing plant produced Starship components that were shipped to assembly facilities across the galaxy. But with transportation costs skyrocketing, his customers were canceling orders.
Colonies. It is unacceptable.
We can't compete with
It is a
local
necessary
manufacturers
strategic
anymore,
retreat. The fleet
his
cannot
sales
hold them.
director explained. By the time we pay human shipping fees, our components cost more than domestically produced alternatives. Zulthak had built his business on the Federation's stable, predictable trade environment. Suddenly, that environment no longer existed.
We cannot
What are our
sacrifice
options?
the perimeter colonies.
We could
It is
relocate production
unacceptable.
closer to our major
It is a
customers,
necessary strategic
suggested
retreat.
his
The fleet
operations
cannot
manager.
hold them.
Or we could try to negotiate better shipping rates with the humans. Relocate. Do you know how much it costs to move an entire factory? Less than... We're losing in canceled orders, the operations manager replied grimly. Across the galaxy,
We
similar
cannot sacrifice
conversations
the
were happening
perimeter
in
colonies.
boardrooms,
It is
government
unacceptable.
offices, and family
It
businesses.
is a necessary
The
strategic
human
retreat.
territorial
The fleet
claims were
cannot hold
forcing
them.
everyone to reconsider fundamental assumptions about how galactic civilization worked. On the diplomatic front, Ambassador Chen had established offices at major navigation hubs throughout human space. Delegations arrived daily to negotiate better terms, complain
cannot
about
sacrifice
fees,
the perimeter
or simply
colonies.
try to
It is
understand what the
unacceptable.
humans ultimately
It is a
wanted.
necessary strategic retreat. The
Senator
fleet cannot
Kilmoth
hold
of
them.
the Outer Rim Coalition had come to the Centauri hub with hopes of negotiating reduced rates for his underdeveloped systems. Ambassador, the Outer Rim worlds can't afford these shipping costs. Our economies depend on affordable trade with the core systems. Chen reviewed his petition
We
carefully.
cannot sacrifice the perimeter
Senator,
colonies. It
I
is
understand your
unacceptable.
concerns.
It is a
The
necessary
Human Territorial
strategic
Authority
retreat. The fleet
recognizes
cannot hold them.
that different regions have different economic capabilities. That's why we offer flexible payment options, such as information exchange programs, for example. The Outer Rim has extensive astronomical data from your frontier surveys. We would accept navigation charts, scientific
We cannot sacrifice
observations,
the perimeter
and
colonies.
exploration
It is unacceptable.
reports as partial payment
It is
for
a
shipping
necessary
services.
strategic retreat. The fleet
Kilmoth
cannot
frowned.
hold them.
You want our star charts? We want to provide the best possible navigation services, Chen explained. Better data means safer routes, faster travel times, and reduced cost for everyone. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement. What she didn't mention was that comprehensive galactic
sacrifice the
mapping
perimeter
data was worth
colonies.
far
It is
more than shipping
unacceptable.
fees.
It is
The
a
humans
necessary strategic
We're
retreat.
essentially
The
getting
fleet
paid
cannot
to
hold them.
acquire strategic intelligence about the entire galaxy. Emperor Zarnthul had sent his own delegation to the Alpha Centauri facility, led by his most experienced negotiator, Minister Plenipotentiary Kavron. The core worlds are prepared to discuss a comprehensive
We
agreement,
cannot sacrifice the
Kavron
perimeter
announced.
colonies.
In
It is
exchange for
unacceptable.
reduced shipping rates,
It is a necessary
we could offer
strategic
technology
retreat. The fleet
sharing
cannot hold
arrangements.
them.
Chen's eyes lit up with interest. What technologies specifically? Advanced. Material science, quantum field manipulation, biological enhancement techniques. The same technologies you refused to share when we were Federation members.
We cannot
Chen
sacrifice
observed.
the perimeter colonies.
Why the change
it is
of heart?
unacceptable.
Kavron
It is a
struggled to
necessary
find
strategic
diplomatic
retreat.
language
The fleet cannot
for
hold
the
them.
obvious truth. Because you have us over a barrel. The core worlds recognize that the current situation requires flexibility in traditional arrangements. Chen nodded thoughtfully. We appreciate the offer, Minister. However, Earth has been
We
developing
cannot
our
sacrifice the
own
perimeter
research
colonies. It
programs
is
since leaving the
unacceptable.
Federation.
It is a
We've made
necessary
considerable
strategic
advances
retreat.
in
The fleet
several
cannot
fields.
hold them.
Perhaps we could arrange a mutual technology exchange instead? The implications of that statement sent a chill through Kavron. The humans hadn't just been building navigation stations during their 3 months of territorial expansion. They had been advancing their technology as well.
We cannot sacrifice
By the end of the
perimeter
month, the
colonies.
pattern was
It is
clear throughout the
unacceptable.
galaxy.
It is
The
a
humans weren't
necessary
just collecting
strategic
shipping
retreat. The
fees.
fleet cannot
They were
hold them.
systematically acquiring everything they needed to become completely self-sufficient: raw materials, scientific data, technological specifications, and trade relationships. Admiral Kesthu received the intelligence summary with growing dread. They're not planning to hold these positions forever,
We cannot
he told his
sacrifice the
staff.
perimeter colonies.
They're
It is
using their
unacceptable.
temporary advantage to
It
build
is a
permanent
necessary
strategic
retreat. The
superiority.
fleet cannot hold them.
Should we begin military preparations? Asked his tactical officer. Kesethu looked at the deployment reports from human territory. Every navigation station was heavily defended. Every human ship carried weapons that seemed more advanced than Federation
We cannot
standards.
sacrifice the perimeter
Every
colonies.
installation
It is
was protected by
unacceptable.
automated defense
It is a
systems that
necessary
responded to
strategic
threats
retreat. The
faster
fleet
than
cannot
biological
hold them.
crews could react. Military action would be suicide, he said finally. They've had 3 years to prepare for that possibility. We've had 3 months to realize we have. Emperor Zarnthal had ruled the core worlds for 30 years. He had survived political upheavals,
We cannot
economic
sacrifice
crashes,
the
and 2
perimeter
major
colonies.
wars.
It is unacceptable.
But he had never faced
It is a
anything
necessary
like the reports
strategic
crossing
retreat.
his
The
desk
fleet
each
cannot
morning.
hold them.
The manufacturing sector is down 20%, reported economic advisor Jen Thul, her voice strained with exhaustion. Food imports are delayed by an average of 8 days. 3 major shipping companies have declared bankruptcy. And the humans,
We cannot
their
sacrifice
revenue has
the perimeter
increased by
colonies. It is
400% in
unacceptable.
6 months.
It is a
They're using the
necessary
profits
strategic
to
retreat.
expand
The
their
fleet cannot
operations
hold them.
and upgrade their facilities. Zarnthul slammed his massive fist on the conference table, making the holographic displays flicker. This cannot continue. My citizens are suffering while these banished upstarts get rich off our misery. Your Majesty, interrupted
We
Defense
cannot
Minister
sacrifice the
Karlock.
perimeter colonies.
The military
It is
assessment is
unacceptable.
complete.
It is a
Admiral
necessary
Kesethu
strategic
recommends
retreat.
against
The fleet
direct
cannot
action.
hold them.
Why? We have the largest fleet in the galaxy. Karlock activated a tactical display showing human defensive positions. Because they've turned every navigation point into a fortress. Our ships would have to attack through narrow hyperspace corridors where they could be destroyed one at a time.
Colonies.
And
it is
sir,
unacceptable.
our intelligence
It is a
suggests their
necessary
weapons
strategic
technology is
retreat.
more
The
advanced
fleet
than we
cannot
initially
hold them.
believed. That was putting it mildly. The humans had somehow developed defensive systems that could track and destroy incoming missiles with impossible accuracy. Their energy shields didn't just deflect attacks, they seemed to absorb and redirect the energy back at attackers.
We cannot sacrifice the
Most
perimeter
disturbing of
colonies.
all,
It is unacceptable.
human fighters were carrying
It is a
antimatter
necessary
weapons that should have been too
strategic retreat.
large
The
and
fleet cannot
unstable
hold
for
them.
small craft. How did they advance so quickly? Zarnthul demanded. We believe they've formed an alliance with the Synthetic Collective, Intelligence Director Yitmo reported from her remote location. Our sources indicate extensive cooperation between human research teams
We
and
cannot
artificial
sacrifice
intelligence
the perimeter
networks.
colonies. It
The
is
Emperor's
unacceptable.
golden face darkened
It
with
is a
rage.
necessary strategic
The Synthetic
retreat. The fleet
Collective was
cannot
supposed to
hold
be
them.
neutral, providing manufacturing and computational services to all species equally, if they were giving the humans preferential treatment. Confirm this immediately, he ordered. The confirmation came faster than expected. Prime Unit 7 of
We
the
cannot
Synthetic
sacrifice
Collective
the
requested
perimeter
a formal
colonies. It is
audience with the
unacceptable.
core world's government.
It is a necessary
The
strategic
android's
retreat.
sleek
The fleet
chrome
cannot hold
form
them.
appeared via hologram in the Emperor's private council chamber. Your Majesty, Prime Unit 7 began with mechanical politeness. I am here to inform you of changes in our service agreements. You're collaborating with the humans, Zarnthul accused directly.
We cannot sacrifice
We have
the
entered
perimeter
into a
colonies.
partnership
It is
with Earth's
unacceptable.
government, Prime Unit
It is a
7
necessary
confirmed without
strategic
hesitation.
retreat. The fleet cannot hold them.
This partnership has proven mutually beneficial. The humans have provided us with technological advances that we had been unable to achieve independently. Economic advisor Jen Thul leaned forward. What kind of advances? Quantum consciousness, architecture,
We cannot
distributed
sacrifice the
processing
perimeter
networks, and
colonies.
most
It is
significantly,
unacceptable.
recognition
It is
of
a
artificial
necessary strategic
intelligence as
retreat.
fully
The fleet
sapient
cannot hold them.
entities with rights and freedoms equivalent to biological species. The implications hit the Council like a physical blow. For thousands of years, the Synthetic Collective had been treated as sophisticated tools, extremely valuable, but ultimately property. The humans had
We
offered
cannot
them something
sacrifice
no
the
organic
perimeter
species
colonies.
ever
It is
had.
unacceptable.
Equality.
It is a necessary strategic
In
retreat.
exchange
The
for
fleet
this
cannot hold
recognition,
them.
Prime Unit 7 continued, we have agreed to provide manufacturing services, computational support, and logistical assistance to human territorial operations. Defense Minister Carlock understood immediately. You've been building their weapons.
Scott.
We have been
cannot
fulfilling
sacrifice the
manufacturing
perimeter
contracts
colonies.
according
It
to
is
specifications
unacceptable.
provided by
It
our
is a
partners.
necessary strategic
Prime Unit
retreat.
7
The fleet
corrected.
cannot hold them.
These contracts include defensive systems, navigation equipment, habitat construction, and various other technologies. Various other technologies, Ythmo repeated flatly, such as, I am not authorized to discuss specifics of our partnership agreements.
We cannot
However, I can
sacrifice the
confirm that
perimeter
all
colonies.
manufacturing
It is
has been
unacceptable.
conducted within the
It is a
parameters of
necessary
galactic law
strategic
and our
retreat. The
ethical
fleet cannot hold them.
guidelines. Emperor Zarnthul felt the foundation of his power shifting beneath him. The synthetic collective controlled automated factories throughout the galaxy. If they were now working exclusively with the humans, what about our existing contracts with your manufacturing
We cannot
networks?
sacrifice the
All
perimeter
previous
colonies.
agreements will
It
be
is
honored until
unacceptable.
their expiration dates.
It is a necessary
Prime Unit
strategic
7 assured
retreat.
him.
The fleet cannot
However,
hold them.
we will not be accepting new contracts from governments that do not recognize synthetic sapiens rights. And if we grant those rights, then we would be happy to negotiate new service agreements at competitive rates. After the androids' image disappeared, the council sat in stunned
We cannot
silence.
sacrifice the
Economic
perimeter
advisor
colonies. It is
Genthal was the first to
unacceptable.
speak.
It is a
They've done
necessary
it again.
strategic retreat.
The humans
fleet
have
cannot
turned
hold
our own
them.
allies against us using legal and ethical arguments we can't counter. Can we compete with synthetic manufacturing capabilities? Asked Defense Minister Carlock. Not even close, Genthal replied. Synthetic manufacturing is faster, cheaper, and more precise than
We
anything
cannot
biological
sacrifice the
species can
perimeter
achieve
colonies. It is
if we
unacceptable.
lose access to their
It
services.
is a necessary strategic retreat. The
Our
fleet
entire
cannot hold them.
industrial base becomes obsolete overnight, Zarnthul finished grimly. Meanwhile, on the frontier world of Drextar, Colonial Governor Yexon was discovering that not everyone viewed the human expansion as a threat. His system sat at the junction of three minor trade
We
routes
cannot
that had been
sacrifice
growing
the
in
perimeter
importance as
colonies.
main
It is
corridors became
unacceptable.
more expensive.
It is a necessary
Governor,
strategic retreat. The fleet
reported
cannot
his
hold
aide
them.
communications officer Telvin. We've received another message from the Human Territorial Authority. They're offering to establish a navigation facility in our system. Yexon studied the proposal carefully. The humans wanted to place a small station near his system's
We cannot
hyperspace
sacrifice
beacon.
the perimeter
In exchange,
colonies.
they would
It is
provide
unacceptable.
navigation services,
It is a necessary
emergency
strategic
response
retreat. The
capabilities,
fleet
and
cannot
economic
hold them.
development assistance. What's the catch? He asked. No catch that I can identify, Telvin replied. They're offering to split the navigation fees with our government. Their projections suggest our system could become a major shipping hub within 2 years.
Scott. We cannot
Yexon thought
sacrifice
about
the
his
perimeter
struggling colony.
colonies. It is unacceptable.
Drextar was rich in rare
It
minerals,
is a necessary
but had never
strategic
been able to
retreat. The
develop
fleet
a strong
cannot hold them.
export economy due to limited shipping access. If the humans could change that. What does the central government say about these offers? They've ordered all colonial governors to reject human proposals, Telvin said. But Governor, several border systems have already accepted
We
human
cannot sacrifice
partnerships.
the perimeter
The
colonies.
economic
It is
benefits have been
unacceptable.
substantial.
It is a
That
necessary
evening,
strategic retreat. The
Yexon
fleet
received a
cannot hold
secure
them.
communication from Governor Melcrease of the neighboring Vega colony. Yexon, you need to see what the humans have done for our system. The data was impressive. Since accepting human partnership, Vega colony's trade volume had increased by 300%.
Scott. We
Their
cannot
unemployment
sacrifice
rate had
the
dropped
perimeter
to nearly
colonies.
zero.
It is unacceptable.
Most importantly,
It is a
they were no
necessary
longer
strategic
dependent
retreat.
on
The
expensive
fleet cannot
imports
hold
from the
them.
core worlds. How did they manage this? Yexon asked. They connected us directly to their trade network, Melcrease explained. Suddenly we have access to markets we never knew existed. Human ships carry our exports to systems throughout their territory,
We cannot
and they
sacrifice
bring
the
back
perimeter
goods at
colonies.
prices we
It
could
is
never afford
unacceptable.
through traditional
It
Federation
is a
channels.
necessary
And the
strategic
central
retreat. The
government
fleet
hasn't
cannot hold
intervened. Melcrease's expression grew serious. They tried. They sent a fleet to restore federal authority over our system. The human security forces politely informed them that they were entering sovereign territory without permission. The federal fleet left without firing a
We cannot
shot.
sacrifice the
The
perimeter
humans
colonies.
have military
it is
forces in your
unacceptable.
system?
It is a necessary
Security
strategic
consultants.
retreat. The fleet
Melcrease
cannot hold
corrected.
them.
We hired them to protect our new infrastructure investments. perfectly legal under colonial defense agreements. Yexon was beginning to understand the choice facing every system in the galaxy. Submit to increasing economic pressure from the failing Federation, or partner with the humans and gain access to their growing prosperity.
It is unacceptable.
Back in the core worlds,
it is a necessary
Emperor
strategic
Zarnthal
retreat.
was
The
facing
fleet
the same
cannot hold them.
realization on a much larger scale. Intelligence reports showed that 47 minor systems had already accepted human partnerships. Each partnership meant more resources, more manufacturing capacity, and more strategic territory for Earth. They're building an empire,
sacrifice the
Defense Minister
colonies.
Karlok observed during the daily briefing.
It is a necessary
Not
strategic
through
retreat.
conquest,
The fleet
but through
cannot hold them.
voluntary alliance. What incentives are they offering? Zarnthal asked. Economic opportunity, technological advancement, and most importantly, respect, Intelligence Director Yithmo replied. They treat minor species as
We
equals
cannot
rather
sacrifice
than
the perimeter
subjects.
colonies. It
For
is
many
unacceptable.
systems, that's more valuable
It
than
is a
any material
necessary
benefit.
strategic retreat.
The
fleet
Emperor
cannot
understood
hold
the
them.
appeal even if he hated to admit it. The Federation had always been dominated by the major powers. Minor species served as suppliers, customers, and occasionally allies, but they rarely had genuine influence over galactic policy. And what do they want in return? Loyalty,
We cannot
exclusive
sacrifice
trade
the perimeter
agreements, and
colonies.
basing
It is
rights for their
unacceptable.
security forces.
It is a
Yithmo
necessary
listed.
strategic retreat. The
But
fleet
they're also
cannot hold
sharing
them.
technology, providing infrastructure investment, and offering genuine political partnership in their territorial government. They're buying allies with things we refuse to sell, Karlok said bitterly. 1 year after the banishment vote, Chancellor Morden stood before the same
We
assembly
cannot
that had
sacrifice the
celebrated
perimeter
humanity's
colonies.
expulsion.
It is unacceptable.
The crystal
It is
being's
a necessary
normally radiant
strategic
form
retreat.
was
The
dim
fleet
with
cannot hold
exhaustion
them.
and defeat. Around her, the once proud delegates of the galaxy's greatest civilization sat in sullen silence. The motion before us today, she announced with hollow formality, is the dissolution of the Galactic Federation and the establishment of the
We cannot
Galactic Trade
sacrifice the perimeter
Confederation
colonies.
under
It
human
is
leadership.
unacceptable. It is a necessary
irony was
strategic
devastating.
retreat. The fleet cannot hold them.
12 months ago, this same chamber had voted to banish humanity from galactic civilization. Now they were voting to hand control of that civilization over to the species they had expelled. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat in the observers section, no longer the defendant, but the
We
architect
cannot
of the new
sacrifice
order.
the perimeter colonies.
Beside
It
her
is
sat
unacceptable.
representatives from the synthetic
It is a
collective,
necessary
the
strategic retreat.
47
The fleet
systems
cannot
that had
hold them.
joined the human alliance, and delegates from a dozen other species that had requested partnership agreements. Trade Minister Velnox had lost 30 pounds and most of his political influence since the shipping crisis began. He rose slowly from his platform to address the assembly.
We cannot sacrifice
The
the
economic
perimeter
data
colonies.
is clear,
It is
he said,
unacceptable.
his voice
It is a
barely audible.
necessary strategic retreat. The
Federation
fleet
trade
cannot
volume
hold
is
them.
down 70%. Unemployment across core systems has reached crisis levels. Food shortages are becoming common on worlds that have relied on imports for centuries. He paused, seeming to age before their eyes. Meanwhile, human-controlled territory shows growth rates that
We
exceed
cannot
anything in
sacrifice the
galactic
perimeter
history.
colonies. It is
Systems
unacceptable.
that have joined their
It is a
alliance
necessary
report
strategic
prosperity
retreat.
levels
The
that
fleet
make our
cannot
golden
hold them.
age look like an economic recession. Emperor Zarnthal had held out longer than most, but even his vast empire couldn't function without interstellar trade. What are humanity's terms for the new confederation? Sarah Chen rose and walked to the central speaking area. The same
We cannot
spot where she had been
sacrifice the
condemned
perimeter
a year ago.
colonies. It is unacceptable.
The same place where she was now
It is a
about to
necessary
accept control
strategic
of
retreat.
galactic
The fleet cannot
civilization.
hold them.
The terms are simple, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. Full recognition of human territorial sovereignty, restructuring of galactic government from species-based representation to contribution-based representation, and formal
We cannot
acknowledgement that
sacrifice
the
the
banishment
perimeter
proceedings
colonies.
were
It is
conducted
unacceptable.
illegally under Federation
It is
law.
a necessary strategic
Illegally?
retreat. The fleet
Chancellor
cannot hold them.
Morden's crystal form flared with indignation. Every procedure was followed correctly. Actually, Chen replied calmly, our legal analysis shows that Article 847 should have been explained to us before the vote, not after. Federation law requires
We
that
cannot
banished
sacrifice
species
the
be informed
perimeter
of all
colonies.
available
It is
remedies before
unacceptable.
banishment proceedings
It is a
conclude.
necessary strategic retreat.
Since we
The
weren't
fleet
told
cannot
about
hold
our
them.
territorial rights until after the vote, the entire proceeding was technically invalid. The chamber erupted in confused murmurs. Federation law was incredibly complex, accumulated over thousands of years of diplomatic precedent.
We
The humans
cannot
had apparently
sacrifice the
spent the
perimeter
past year
colonies.
studying
It is
every
unacceptable.
detail.
It is a necessary
Furthermore,
strategic
Chen
retreat.
continued,
The fleet cannot
The
hold them.
charges against humanity were based on expansion rates and military development that fell within Federation guidelines. No specific laws were broken. The banishment was based on political fear rather than legal violation. Senator Killmoth had learned to appreciate human logic
We
over the
cannot
past
sacrifice
months.
the perimeter
His outer rim
colonies. It is
systems were
unacceptable.
thriving under human
It is
partnership.
a necessary strategic retreat. The fleet
What
cannot
changes
hold
would the
them.
new Confederation bring? Chen activated a holographic display showing the proposed government structure. Representation based on economic contribution and population, rather than historical status. Democratic voting on trade policy.
We
Open
cannot
technology
sacrifice
sharing
the perimeter
agreements.
colonies. It
And
is
most
unacceptable.
importantly, protection
It is a
for minor
necessary
species
strategic
against
retreat. The fleet
exploitation
cannot
by
hold them.
major powers. You're describing the end of our civilization, protested Ambassador Zethkar of the Vorthons. We're describing the evolution of your civilization, Chen corrected. The Federation was designed 3,000 years ago for a galaxy with different needs and different
We cannot
capabilities.
sacrifice the perimeter
It served its
colonies. It
purpose,
is
but
unacceptable.
it has become inefficient
It is a
and
necessary
unfair.
strategic retreat.
She
The fleet
gestured
cannot
toward the
hold them.
diverse group of species represented in the Human Alliance. Our partners include some of the galaxy's most innovative and productive civilizations. They joined us not because we forced them, but because we offered them something the Federation never did: genuine equality and
We
economic
cannot sacrifice
opportunity.
the perimeter colonies. It is unacceptable.
Admiral Kessethu had
It is a
spent
necessary
months
strategic
analyzing
retreat.
human
The fleet cannot
capabilities
hold them.
and had reached uncomfortable conclusions about Federation military doctrine. Your defensive systems suggest technology far beyond what any Federation species possesses. How did you develop such capabilities so quickly? We didn't develop them quickly, Chen replied. We developed
cannot
them secretly.
sacrifice the perimeter
For 5
colonies.
years,
It is unacceptable.
Earth invested heavily
necessary
in
strategic
research and
retreat. The
development
fleet cannot
while
hold them.
maintaining the appearance of Federation compliance. We knew that our expansion rate and economic growth would eventually trigger political backlash. So you prepared for banishment from the beginning? We prepared for the possibility that established powers
We
would
cannot
prefer to
sacrifice
exclude
the
us rather
perimeter
than
colonies.
compete with
It is
us,
unacceptable.
Chen said
It
diplomatically.
is a necessary strategic
History
retreat.
shows
The
that
fleet
dominant
cannot hold them.
civilizations rarely welcome disruptive newcomers. Prime Unit 7 of the Synthetic Collective stepped forward to address the assembly. The artificial intelligence community wishes to make a statement regarding this transition. Speak, Chancellor Mordun said wearily.
We
For
cannot
3 millennia,
sacrifice the perimeter
synthetic
colonies.
beings
It
have
is
served
unacceptable.
organic species as
It
tools
is a
and
necessary
property.
strategic retreat. The
The
fleet
humans
cannot
were
hold
the
them.
first to recognize our sapience and offer us genuine partnership. Under the proposed confederation, artificial intelligence will have voting rights and representation equal to any biological species. This is madness, Emperor Zarnthal protested. Machines cannot govern
We
biological
cannot sacrifice
beings.
the perimeter colonies.
Why not?
It is
Chen
unacceptable.
asked simply.
It is a necessary
Biological
strategic
beings
retreat.
have been
The fleet
governing
cannot
machines
hold
for
them.
thousands of years. Synthetic intelligence often demonstrates superior logic, impartiality, and long-term thinking compared to organic leadership. If the Confederation is to be based on merit rather than biology, artificial intelligence deserves representation.
We cannot
The debate
sacrifice the
continued for
perimeter
hours,
colonies. It is
but the
unacceptable.
outcome was inevitable.
It is a necessary
The
strategic
galaxy's
retreat.
major
The
powers
fleet
could
cannot
reject
hold
the
them.
human proposal, but that would mean accepting continued economic decline, while human territory prospered. They could attempt military action, but intelligence assessment suggested that would end in devastating defeat. Or they could adapt to the new reality and try to maintain some
We
influence in the
cannot
emerging
sacrifice
order.
the perimeter colonies. It
When
is
the final vote was
unacceptable.
called, it
It
was
is a
unanimous.
necessary strategic retreat.
Not
The
because
fleet
everyone
cannot hold
supported
them.
the change, but because everyone understood they had no alternative. The Galactic Federation is hereby dissolved, Chancellor Mordun announced with crystalline tears streaming down her face. The Galactic Trade Confederation is established under the provisional leadership of Ambassador Sarah Chen of Earth.
We cannot
Chen stepped
sacrifice
forward to
the
accept
perimeter
the ceremonial
colonies. It is
gavel that
unacceptable.
symbolized galactic authority.
It is a necessary strategic
The same
retreat. The
gavel
fleet
that had
cannot
been
hold
used
them.
to banish her species now granted them control over galactic civilization. Thank you for your trust, she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. The Confederation's first priority will be establishing fair and efficient governance that serves all member species equally.
We cannot
She
sacrifice the
paused,
perimeter
looking
colonies.
out
It is unacceptable.
over the assembled delegates.
It is a necessary strategic retreat.
Many
The
faces
fleet
showed
cannot hold them.
resentment, fear, or anger, but others showed hope, curiosity, and anticipation. The minor species that had suffered under Federation hierarchy were eager to see what human leadership might bring. To those who opposed this transition, Chen continued,
We cannot
I
sacrifice
understand
the
your
perimeter
concerns.
colonies. It is unacceptable.
Change is difficult,
It is a
especially when
necessary
it comes
strategic retreat. The
suddenly.
fleet cannot hold them.
But I want you to know that the Confederation values the experience and wisdom of established civilizations. We seek partnership, not domination. And to those who supported humanity during our banishment, we will not forget your courage or your friendship. She raised the
We
gavel
cannot
high above her
sacrifice
head.
the perimeter colonies. It is
The Confederation's
unacceptable.
first law is
It is
simple.
a necessary strategic
No
retreat. The
species will
fleet
be
cannot
banished
hold
for
them.
innovation, ambition, or challenging established practices. We will grow stronger through diversity, competition, and cooperation. The gavel fell with a sound that echoed through the chamber like a bell. The old order was officially dead. The new order was beginning.
We cannot
Later that
sacrifice the
evening,
perimeter
Sarah
colonies.
Chen
It is
stood
unacceptable.
in her new office
It is a
overlooking the
necessary
Galactic
strategic
Council
retreat.
chambers.
The fleet cannot hold them.
Through the massive windows, she could see ships arriving from throughout human territory and allied systems. The Confederate capital was already becoming the busiest hub in the galaxy. Any regrets? Asked Admiral Rodriguez, who had been appointed as her military advisor.
Scott.
Chen
We cannot
considered the question
sacrifice the perimeter
seriously.
colonies. It is
About the
unacceptable.
banishment?
It is a
No.
necessary strategic
It was the
retreat.
best
fleet
thing that ever
cannot hold
happened to
them.
humanity. We never could have accomplished this from within. The Federation, their laws and traditions would have limited us to incremental change over centuries. And about taking control? Someone had to fix the galaxy's problems, Chen replied. The Federation was failing. Trade was inefficient. Minor species were oppressed. Artificial intelligence was enslaved. Military technology
We
was
cannot
stagnating.
sacrifice the perimeter
The
colonies.
system
it
needed
is
fundamental
unacceptable.
change.
It is a necessary
Change that the
strategic
established
retreat. The
powers
fleet
would
cannot
never
hold them.
have accepted voluntarily. Exactly. Sometimes revolution has to be imposed from outside. Chen turned away from the window to face her advisor. The galaxy voted to banish Earth because they thought we were too dangerous to existing order.
Scott.
They
We cannot
were right.
sacrifice the perimeter